what's up, Shadowverse soldiers? Before we get into it, I wanted to talk about a new tournament that I'm hosting, the Olivia's Webcam Tournament. It's a $20 entry fee, and it's a best of 3 Swiss rounds. First place gets a Dark Angel Olivia, while second place gets 45, third place gets 20, and fourth gets 15. We'll be doing it on November 4th, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll put a link in the description below, and I will hope to see you guys there. What is up, my Shadowverse scholars, and welcome back to another video. I wanted to let you guys know Happy Halloween from Sparta to everyone. I love you guys so much, and thank you for coming back for another episode. And also, I'm going to say it at the end, but I'm going to let you know right now. Go ahead and be safe. If you end up going to a party or going trick-or-treating, make sure you guys go and take care of yourselves for whatever you do tonight, because it is one of the nights where everybody's going to be out, and it's post 19, if you know what I mean. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get into it. So let's go ahead and get into the Abysscrasft deck. So Abysscrasft is the aggro archetype for Shadowverse. It's very good. It hurts itself and it hurts you even harder. It's the turns 1 through 6 are probably the golden turns. They're gonna have like a whole bunch of bodies on the field. Every turn they're generating some sort of value. It's very good. So let's go ahead and get into the pros and cons of Abysscrasft. So, pros, it's fast. It's very, very fast. It has good damage, good support, and then on the downside, it's fast, it has a bad hand size, and it's a double-edged sword. So, the fast aspect of it is that it can win very fast and then lose very fast. So we're gonna put it as like a glass cannon type of archetype of a deck. So if you go to like a regional or something, if it's at like a con, I would say if you aren't thinking too big on, oh, I don't want to use much of my brain, but I know I want to do very well, you can definitely play Abysscrasft. And then if you don't do very well, I mean, yeah, you won fast or you lost fast, you can do whatever the fuck you want afterwards. I had a couple buddies in the other Dragon Ball game that they were fast decks. They'd finish in like 5-10 minutes. They'd be like, yeah, I can go get something to eat, get something to drink. So, you know, this is the type of deck you want to play to get over it fast. But you can still put a good time and thought into your plays to make sure you do well. So, let's talk about Sanguine. So, Sanguine is a keyword ability that cards and abilities may have. Sanguine is considered active for you if it's your turn and your leader has lost defense that turn. So, basically, Skeleton Fighter, this card here, is if Sanguine is active for you, you give this follower +1/+1, and he's a 1. He's a 1 cost 2/2. So you can already see where this comes in the fact that this deck is fast, because it can pop out these small bodies, and he will be a 3/3 if you've already dealt damage to yourself. So you're probably asking, hey Sparta, how in the world do I hurt myself on my turn? So we have these ouchie cards. All these cards are big ouchies to yourself. And let's go down the list. So we have Spectre. When she comes into play, you give your leader -2 defense, so that gives you Sanguine active, and it gives her rush, and you can put the top card of your deck into your cemetery. That last part, we'll get into that later. But the whole fact that it's -2 gives you Sanguine. Your Sanguine's active. Usually, the next card that we're talking about is the more practical guy, the Ambling Wraith. He'll deal both 1 damage to each leader, yourself included. So that means for 1 you have Sanguine active, and then you can play the Skeleton Fighter, and he'll be a 3/3. And, you know, Ambling Wraith is a 2/1, so his stats is 2 attack, 1 defense. And that put together with Skeleton Fighter, that's 5. That's 5. So that's already 5 damage right there. The other card is Razory Claw. It's a quick. So you can do this at the end of your opponent's turn, or if you need the damage on yourself, you can definitely use Razory Claw to deal 2 damage to your leader, and then 3 to their face or to a body. Most of the time in the deck, the practical version of it, you usually use this for 3 damage to the face. Now, this last card, not gonna say no one, but everybody doesn't use, but it does help with the Sanguine effect. You can deal 1 damage to yourself and draw a card. And then for 2, you can engage it and then deal 1 damage and then draw another card. That, because it's an amulet, it sits on the field, so in case, you know, you're running out of options and you need Sanguine, and there's like a unit that uses Sanguine, you know, it helps for later on in the game. So, let's talk about the MVP of the deck, Cerberus. Okay, so Cerberus is a 4 cost. When she comes into play, you put a Mimi and a Coco token into your EX area. Now, if you have Necrocharge 10, so Necrocharge means that if you have a certain amount of cards in your cemetery. So, if you have 10 cards in your cemetery, you can put both Mimis and Cocos into your EX area. But on the Evolve version of her, you can definitely put both. So, if you have Necrocharge 10, you have both a Mimi and a Coco in there, and then if you evolve, you have another set of Coco and Mimis. So, you're wondering if you can definitely see, besides the cards, what in the world does Mimi and Coco do? Alright, so Mimi selects an enemy follower on the field and deals it 2 damage, while Coco on the other hand, selects a follower on your field and give a +2 attack. So Coco helps with the aggressive version, and these cost, as you can see, they cost 0. So Mimi helps in removal of like wards and stuff, especially if they're really small, which they should be, because you're focusing on the playstyle of, hey, I'm going to beat you between turns 1 through 6. We're gonna play a fast game. I'm controlling the pace, foot, gas on the pedal. We're going all the way straight forward. But that doesn't mean your opponent can't play small blockers or things to, you know, trip you up. But Mimi and Coco are MVPs because you can, if you have Necrocharge 10, or, you know, you can set up to where you have multiple Mimis. You can deal 4 damage to something by stacking 2 Mimis and then, you know, adding 2 attack to anything. So they help with the aggressive playstyle. That's what I really like about these 2 cards. Next, let's talk about the game plan. So the game plan for Abysscrasft is straightforward. You're definitely going to be playing your Skeleton Fighter along with Ambling Wraith, and then you can also use Spectre to get rid of wards because she has Rush and Bane, so she kills anything. And then you use Cerberus along with that to make your little body stronger. So you're going to be, you know, hitting them with everything you have, basically. It's one of the, if you can think of a Shoto character in any fighting game, you know how they have that default go to, hey, I'm going to do this move and this is going to be my strongest move, all in on 1 attack. That's what you can think about for Abysscrasft. Abysscrasft is just straight all in. You don't need to think too much sometimes, but if you really want to get in good, you definitely can craft your deck into how you want it to be. I like it a lot. It's very fast-paced. You control the game is in your hands, and it's a pretty solid deck. Next, let's get into the new cards. The new cards from Set 2, as of right now, Set 2 Reign of Bahamut is the newest set. And here are the new cards that help the archetype out. So we have Mini Soul Devil. Whenever one of your follower evolves, you deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. So, you play you can see Demonic Hedonist here. But if you evolve at any time while Mini Soul Devil is on the field, she just pings you for 2. Now, not everyone runs this next card, but it is still a good clutch card. It's the Trick Dullahan. You put a ghost token into your EX area, but if you have Necrocharge 10, remember that, we talked about that earlier, you put 3 instead. So, if you don't know what ghost tokens do, they're 1/1s, and they have Storm. And at the end phase, you banish that follower. Not Trick Dullahan, but the ghost. So putting a ghost into your EX area, having it in the back line is pretty good, because at a point in time, if you use a Coco, that's 3 damage. And along with Razor Claw, you can burn them for another 3, so that's 6 damage. So if they're sitting at 6, then it's very dangerous for them. Now this next card, Demonic Adonis, is actually very good, because she also helps with the Sanguine effect, because there's not too many Sanguine effects to help you get Sanguine active, but she actually helps. So when she swings, you strike to deal 1 damage to each leader, and at the start of your end phase, if Sanguine is active for you, so if she swung or if Sanguine has been activated while she's on the field, you can draw a card and then discard a card. So this is very good for filter. Filtering in this deck is very good because your hand size is very bad, and you could be stuck with 2 or 3 of the same cards, that being Spectre or the Trick Dullahan is nice, but it doesn't help move the game forward, especially when it comes to being aggressive. And next we have the Soul Dealer. So the Soul Dealer is very interesting. So for the higher end decks like Dragoncraft or Heavencraft, you know, those cards, you know, they get up to like 6, 7. Those cards are big. They're huge. But Soul Dealer being the ward, and I don't have his evolve in here, I'm so sorry. But you basically, when you evolve him, you can choose him to choose anything, and then you can gain the life for whatever the creature is. So I evolve Soul Dealer for 2, and he evolves, and then I can choose any follower on the field that doesn't have aura, and I can gain whatever their attack was. But the reason why Soul Dealer isn't too good right now is because you're running the aggressive build. And the aggressive build is I'm going to spam little bodies out. And Soul Dealer does hit you into Sanguine, but he's very, very slow. He's like a very slow deck, because very slow card. Because you have to spend 4 and then you have to spend 2 to evolve him. Even though Cerberus is like that too, but she has instant benefits when she comes out, if you can see what I'm talking about. Unlike Soul Dealer, where you ping yourself with 3, which is, you know, it's still nice and all, but you still have to spend the extra 2 to evolve. So Soul Dealer's slower in comparison to getting rid of something. That's why I, in my opinion, feel like Spectre is a whole lot better, because she's 2, you burn yourself, you get that Sanguine, you get the mill to help for the Necro charge, and she has Bane. So she has Rush. So she's killing anything she's swinging into. But she can be answered. That's the sad part. She can be answered. So Soul Dealer, I prefer Spectre over Soul Dealer, but Soul Dealer is still a good card. Next, let's talk about the matchups. Alright, so, good matchups. I will 100% say that Swordcraft is a good matchup for Abysscrasft, because you can get under Swordcraft. You don't have to worry about their bodies between 3 and 4. Floor Fencer, if they go for the Floor Fencer play, you know, you have to respect it, because you don't have very good removal in terms of cards. But, you know, you hit harder than them faster. And if you can get under Swordcraft, then you're doing very good. Now, I'm not gonna say that Dragoncraft is like the best matchup, but if you can get under them between turns 1 and 4, if you can put them in a very tight spot between turns 1 and 4, that's very good. Like, if you can put them at 5 between turn 4, that's good. Because when they go for their Shenlong play, it'll only put them at 10. It will give them a ward, but if you're running Spectre, then you're not worried about 10, because you can burn them down from 10. So these are your 2 good matchups. I'm still on the fence with Dragoncraft, because you really have to see the nuts to do really good against Dragoncraft. And it's not like it's a bad matchup. It's not like an auto lose. There are no auto lose decks as of right now for set 2. There are no auto lose. Nothing's out of control. So we're in a really good, healthy game state right now. But Dragoncraft is very strong. But if you can get under them, then it's very, very good. Next, let's talk about the bad matchups. So the bad matchups are all the control decks. So that being Runecraft, Havencraft, and Forestcraft. So you're probably looking at me like crazy, like, hey, why is Forestcraft such a problem against Abysscraft? Because they don't really do anything, they're just bouncing stuff. But on the contrary, Forestcraft has an archer. Once it's evolved, it will ping 2 bodies for 1. And that hurts, because all they need to do is just play 2 bodies and they're removing 2 things off your field. Because the other sad part about Abysscraft is their bodies aren't very strong. They don't have a strong defense. They have good offense, but their defense is not very good. And in terms of bad matchups for Runecraft and Havencraft, they're just straight control. They have all the removal that they need in forms of spells or bodies. It's just straight removal. And the fact that you play off the early game, they have early game removal. So it's not a fun time for Abysscraft. So here are some tech options to help with certain matchups. So Bellringer helps against the mirror match to slow the game down, and especially including 1 Evo in there if you have the space. It's very tight. The Evo space is very tight, but if you can squeeze 1 Bellringer in there, that's very good. It helps slow the game down. Phantom Howl gives you that extra aggression that you need, because no one's really running Angelic Barrage as a spell anymore. So you can spam out 4 ghosts. And 4 ghost tokens, that's 4 damage right there. And if nobody has a response to that, they're taking 4 to the face. Along with the early example that I used of having a skeleton fighter and ambling wraith agent for 5, that's 9 in total. Dark General is also a good tech option to hit very hard, very quickly, especially if you have Sanguine active. That card has Storm, it's a 5/5. And then if you can put that together with Coco, she's a 7/5, and that's 7 damage off the rip. And that almost feels like you're running a Forte at that point. Now, don't grill me for this, but Crazed Executioner is very good into the Haven matchup, especially if they're going for the Instatute Seraph line. So, you know, you can use Crazed Executioner on 3. You evolve, you evolve for 4, you evolve for 1. But you can snipe any. You can look at your opponent's hand and you can get any card that you want out of their hand. So if they're holding an answer, or if they're holding like their boss monster and you know it's a 1/of, you can go ahead and snatch it out of their hand and put it into the cemetery. And you pray that they can't get it back. So these are the good tech options for each deck. You know, craft your deck to how you feel 100%. I would say build Abysscrasft. It's the cheapest craft out there right now. You don't have to put a lot of money into it. And you can build it cheap, and it can be very competitive from the get-go. So it's very, very nice. So I really do want to give an honorable mention to Dark General. Not too many people use her anymore. There's been a whole, not really a conspiracy, but there's just been talk about how Dark General isn't really good anymore. She's not all that. But I still want to give her some credit, because Dark General is still a 5/5 with Storm. If you watched my previous video, Runeblade Summoner, she's basically Abysscrasft Runeblade Summoner, but without having all the spell chain stuff. So, you know, you can still play her for 4. And then if you have Sanguine active, she has Storm and she's 5. So that's a quarter of someone's HP being swung at. So, an overview of Abysscrasft. So Abysscrasft is very fast. If you like hitting your opponent hard, very, very hard, and then, you know, hitting yourself too. If you've liked those type of characters in any type of games where they hurt themselves, but they hurt your opponent even more, this is the playstyle for it. It's very fast. Glass cannony though, so if your opponent can stabilize, that's the unfortunate part. If your opponent can stabilize after turn 5 or 6, you're not going to look too good because your hand isn't very good. Your bodies are still small while their bodies are getting even bigger in different crafts. So if you're focusing on the aggressive playline, your bodies are staying at a constant, you know, they have 2 defense, 3 defense, sometimes, you know, even 5, you know, the borderline number 5. So, if you like playing an aggressive playstyle, I would say Abysscrasft is the way to go. You have to watch out for certain matchups, that being the control ones, and play smart. On the other hand, Dragon and Sword are your good matchups, but you do have to play very smart against Dragon, because they have bodies that also can do control and they can also hit, and their late game is still good too. So really, I'm saying that Swordcraft is really your only optimal matchup, because you can get under them, and by the time they want to go for their big plays, they should already be at a point where they're like, hey, I can't take any more hits from Abysscrasft, they're hitting me too hard. So, we do this on a grade system, and what we've learned today is that Abysscrasft hits hard, and I've said it multiple times, hits hard, it can end the game very quickly. And it has a consistency of doing it, because you have small bodies. The chances of you drawing a high body is low, but never 0. But there's an 80% chance that you'll be drawing small bodies and you'll be hitting the gas every time you pick up the deck. So I'm going to give Abysscrasft a S-. It's a top tier, 100% could definitely win an event if they hit the gas every time. So, you know, it's always RNG. But that's all we had today, guys. I love you so much, and also, yet again, happy Halloween. Make sure you are safe going out tonight if you do. And if you don't, you know, be safe eating your candy, of course. But I love you guys. You be safe doing what you're doing tonight, and be safe doing what you're doing for the rest of the year. I love you guys so much. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
I gave you all my love, baby, my heart is cold when you're around. You warm it up, liquid gold, baby, yeah, you warm it up, liquid gold, baby, and my affection, all that paper you wasted. Take my love.